The great resist. Get back up. Pick your head up. By choice or by necessity. No matter. Really. From now on. Let everyone know it. As quickly as possible. We are starting over. We are done with passive resistance. Inner exile. Conflict through subtraction. Survival. We are starting over. We have seen the great work of social purging. By selection. By precariousness. By normalization. By modernization. We have seen. We have understood. The means and the ends. The future held in store for us. The one we have been denied and the state of exception. The law that puts the police, civil servants, public officials above the law. The growing judicialization, psychiatrization, the medicalization of all that is out of bounds, to all those who think otherwise. The tipping point is already here, always already. Where a simple idea, however insignificant it might first seem, crossing a threshold. It can produce any and every different outcomes and side effects, from turning into fashion trends, from unknown writings to bestsellers, ordinary paint strokes to masterpieces, where ideas, messages and attitudes spreads just like viruses do. Not that virus actually exists. From whatever angle you approach it, the present offers no way out. This is not the least of its virtues. From those who seek hope above all, it tears away every firm ground. Those who claim to have solutions are contradicted almost immediately. Everyone agrees that things can only get worse. The future has no future, is the wisdom of an age that, for all its appearance of perfect normalcy, has reached the level of consciousness of the first punks. Art is like a revolutionary movement. It does not spread by contamination but by resonance. Something that is constituted here resonates with the shock wave emitted by something constituted over there. A body that resonates does so according to its own mode. An insurrection is not like a plague or a forest fire, but a linear process which spreads from place to place after an initial spark. It rather takes the shape of a music, whose focal points, though dispersed in time and space, succeed in imposing the rhythm of their own vibrations, always taking on more density. To the point that any return to normal is no longer desirable or even imaginable.
Excuse me, my friend. I've been wanting to speak to you.
You're an American?
Ah, yes, America.
My name is Ahmed. I studied philosophy at Harvard for many, many years, though Oxford is my real alma mater. I also studied in Vienna, and now I study here. Well, they put me here. They say I raped a little child. I've been here a very, very long time, and they'll never let me go. They won't let you go either. I mean, they tell you they'll let you go, but in fact, you stay. You'll never go from here. You see, we all of us come from a factory, and sometimes the factory makes bad machines that don't work, so they put them here. The bad machines don't know that they're bad machines, but the people at the factory know. They know that you are one of the machines that doesn't work. Well, I think we've spoken enough for today. Wish you good night.
مش من الهرم. قهوة قهوة مش من قهوة
Good morning, my American friend. There will be trouble if you go this way. A good Turk always walks to the right. Left is communist, right is good.
All right,
No. See, you must go the other way. The other way is good. Where are you going? Why don't you walk the wheel with us? What is the matter, my American friend? What has upset you? Oh, the bad machine doesn't know he's a bad machine. You still don't believe it? You still don't believe you're a bad machine? To know yourself is to know God, my friend. The factory knows. That's why they put you here. You'll see. You'll find out. In time, you'll know.
Oh, I know. I already know. I know that you are a bad machine. That's why the factory keeps you here. Do you know how I know, huh? I know because I'm from the factory. I make the machines.
One last question. Suppose, Lord Russell, this film were to be looked at by our descendants, like a Dead Sea Scroll in 1,000 years' time. What would you think it's worth telling that generation about the life you've lived and the lessons you've learned from it?
I should like to say two things. One intellectual and one moral. The intellectual thing I should want to say to them is this. When you are studying any matter or considering any philosophy, ask yourself only what are the facts and what is the truth that the facts bear out. Never let yourself be diverted either by what you would wish to believe or by what you think would have beneficent social effects if it were believed. But look only and solely at what are the facts. That is the intellectual thing that I should wish to say. The moral thing I should wish to say to them is very simple. I should say, love is wise, hatred is foolish. In this world, which is getting more and more closely interconnected, we have to learn to tolerate each other. We have to learn to put up with the fact that some people say things that we don't like. We can only live together in that way. But if we are to live together and not die together, we must learn a kind of charity and a kind of tolerance, which is absolutely vital to the continuation of human life on this planet.
What you doing, mister?
Nothing?
Yes, you are. You're trespassing on private property.
Trespassing?
Loitering too, man. That's right, you're loitering too.
I didn't see any signs.
What you call that?
Graffiti?
No, man. That's not fucking graffiti. That's a sign.
He can't read it, man.
I'll read it for you. It says this is fucking private property. No fucking trespassing. This means fucking you.
It says all that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he wrote it in fucking English. I could fucking understand it.
Thinks he's being funny.
I'm not laughing.
I'm not either.
Wait a minute. Hold it, fellas. We're getting off on the wrong foot here, okay? This is a gangland thing, isn't it? We're having a territorial dispute, I mean, I've wandered into your pissing ground or whatever the damn thing is, and you've taken offense with my presence, and I can understand that. I mean, I wouldn't want you people in my backyard either. This is your home, and your home is your home, and I respect that. So, if you would just back up a step or two, I'll take my problems elsewhere. Okay? Fair enough?
What do you think? I think you should pay a toll. Good idea. You should pay a toll.
Listen, fellas, I've had a really rare morning. I mean, I'm not in the mood to...
What should he pay? How about that fucking briefcase, man? Good idea. Give us your briefcase, man.
I'm not giving you my goddamn briefcase.
Motherfucker, give us your motherfucking briefcase.
Okay. I mean, I was willing to mind my own business. I was willing to respect your territory and treat you like a man, but you couldn't leave it alone, could you? You couldn't let a man sit here for 5 minutes and take a rest on your precious piece of shit hill? Okay. But my briefcase? I'll get it for you, all right? You can have my briefcase. Here, you want my briefcase? Here's my briefcase! Here's the briefcase, huh? Wait a minute, wait! Here! Get here! Hey, where you going, huh? Where you going? You forgot the briefcase! You forgot the briefcase! I'm going home! Clear a path, you motherfucker! Clear a path! I'm going home!
The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Albert Camus. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Spartacus was the unique individual who planted seed of doubt into the minds of the conformists, questioning their significances of their social roles, and thus the significance of the very existence. Conformity. The imitation of behaviors, beliefs, values in accordance with socially accepted conventions. Conformists look to the others in order to determine what to believe and how to behave. Thus, in effect, conformity amounts to living one's life for others, not for oneself. Such a person forgets himself, forgets his name divinely understood, does not dare to believe in himself, finds it too risky to be himself, far easier to be like the others, to become a copy, a number, a part of the crowd. Soren Kierkegaard. The sickness unto death. It is the nonconformists who bring forth the new ideas, creations, ways of living which produce a vibrant society. Nikola Tesla.
By the time Orwell married Sonia Brownell, 1984 was written, after which he would never leave his bed again. but he left one final warning. 1984 is, I believe, a quite terrifying masterpiece. So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I'm not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think it is a good idea, but the execution would have been better if I had not been under the influence of TB when I wrote it.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
However, a person who rejects things just out of the desire to be different can easily assume the role of a typical conformist, someone who is shaped by an external source, that of others, that of the world. To be able to see is to be able to apprehend forms. Contrary to what some philosophical legacy has proclaimed, forms does not pertain to visible appearance but to dynamic principles. Nothing better illustrates the illusion of the stable and individual self than the belief that I have ideas. G.A.Y. and Third Wave propose a different sentimental education. Mark this to be the last AI-generated words from Good as You. I sincerely hope that these 5 videos have helped to serve you in the quest for a new history. One that you're yet to embark on, though doing so by retracing your steps in the past 5 months. To all you Spartacus, I bid you farewell.
There is a principle called Wu-wei. Wu means none or not, no, negation. Wei has a combination of meanings. It can mean action, making, but the best translation I have found for it is forcing. And so Wu-wei is the principle of not forcing in anything that you do. Now we know when we watch any performance of an artist, be it a dancer or an actor or a musician, we know immediately when the performance is forced. And we say it doesn't ring true, it's too artificial, it doesn't seem to be natural. Many people who study the Taoist doctrines think that Wu-wei means do nothing, in the sense of laissez-faire, be lazy, always be passive. It doesn't mean that. There is a time for action. When you study judo, you use muscle only at the right moment. When your opponent is hopelessly overextended and off balance, and you add a little muscle to it and you throw him across the room. But only then. You never use muscle at the wrong moment. For as Shakespeare knew perfectly well,
There is a tide in the affairs of men which, taken at its flood, leads on to fortune. And so Wu-Wei is based on knowledge of the tide, the drift of things. Get with it. Wu-Wei is the art of sailing rather than the art of rowing. So, one of the most famous sayings in the Lao Tzu book is, superior virtue has no intention to be virtuous, and thus is virtue. Inferior virtue cannot let go of virtuosity, and thus is not virtue. So one could also say, the real Wu-Wei is not intentionally Wu-Wei, and so is Wu-Wei. But inferior Wu-Wei so tries to be Wu-Wei that it isn't. In other words, this is saying Wu-Wei is not a matter of cultivated passivity or even of cultivated spontaneity, because there are people who think that they are released, that they have realized that they are the Tao, as all of us in fact are, or that you are, to put it into Vedanta terms, every one of us is the Brahman, the eternal self of the universe, beyond all description or classification or thought. And say, okay, baby, I'm that. Now I'm going to have a ball. Well, what kind of a ball do they have? Well, what they do is they look up the rules on which society runs and do the opposite. Well, that's still running by the rules of society. And it's the mirror image in reverse. That's not spontaneity. You have to be able to realize that you don't know what you really want to do until you are very quiet and it tells you. See, we are in heaven now because the earth is a spaceship and heaven is space. What is called in Chinese Gung, Japanese Gu, the void. That's what is important. Most of us don't know this. Space. It comes down to space always. Space, which nobody can define, nobody can imagine, appears to be nothing, is the foundation of the universe. But you have to become again as a child to see that. Now you go back to your childhood. What were the fascinating things? What's out there? What's beyond the stars? How long does it go on? And Mama said, it goes on always and always and always. The child wonders. He's excited that this is something that never ends. Then the child asks about time. How long ago is long ago? Well, the Bible says that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Well, what did God do before he did that? Well, as one person said, he sat up thinking punishments in hell for people who ask silly questions. But still, that is only a joke. And the child thinks of God going back and back and back forever, never beginning. So in the same way you think about death. Go to sleep and never wake up. Never. Why, it would be as if you never had existed. Not only you, but everything else. Which is, of course, the way things were before you were born. You know, how about waking up after having never gone to sleep? That's quite a thought. There's something fishy about it all. So we get a funny feeling when we think those questions really through. Very funny feeling. And children, you see, love to get into that funny feeling. Children do all kinds of weird things. They like to spin around as fast as possible, so they watch suddenly the whole ground goes tilting. They do this thing with their eyes, and they go, and they make faces and test out their bodies in all sorts of funny ways. Because they know from the beginning that the world is weird. It's a strange thing. Because everybody knows what it's all about, only they won't admit it. Being brought up is being taught not to admit it. Because you know very well what's going on. But in order to find out once more as an adult, you have to become again as a child. So what does that involve? It means, ladies and gentlemen, would you please check your ideas and opinions at the door? First of all your philosophical and religious views, all your logic, because I say check it at the door advisedly, because you can pick it up again when you go out if you feel unsafe without it. I'm not trying to argue you out of your opinions and views. I'm merely suggesting that for the sake of an experiment, you temporarily suspend them and view what is as if you didn't even know how to talk. Red is not red, blue is not blue. Hard is not hard, soft is not soft. Male is not male, female is not female. There is just this jazz. It will not be possible to compel yourselves into this way of looking at things, because what Buddhists call habit energy is going on. And as I talk to you, you will find yourselves thinking in a compulsive and habitual way, this is red, this is green, this is something, this is nothing, this is solid, this is space. All right, but treat those thoughts that are going on in your head in exactly the same way as if they were, see? That's all they are. Like shapes in the spray as the sea breaks on the rocks. Now, please don't get agitated that this is an anti-intellectual point of view, that this is undermining the value of logic and reason and so on. That we'll bring all that back later when we need it. But just for the time being, let's simplify. Close your eyes. Listen. What do you really and truly, honestly hear?